welcome back to another episode of the Carbon Cardboard Podcast. I'm your host, Bryan, aka Q3 Cards, joined as always with my good friend Scott, aka the F1 Castle. Scott, another episode in the books here. I'm starting to think that Topps has got it out for us here because 4 episodes, 3 releases. What's going on here? We're going to talk Dynasty in this episode.
Yeah, it seems this year Topps wants to get them out rapid fire. So we're going, Chrome middle of February, Sapphire beginning of March, and Dynasty 1 week later. So yeah, it's out this Friday.
When we were talking a couple months ago and we were like, we got to get this podcast started, I didn't think that most of the products that we're going to talk about this year, there's some speculation about some other stuff coming maybe later on, but I didn't think in our first couple episodes we'd already have all the new products out. I mean, it'll give us plenty of time to talk about 2020, all the other prior years. I mean, we could have episodes and episodes about 2020. I mean, 2020 is the GOAT. We haven't even touched on 2020 much at all, but it definitely is weird. And I mean, you have extra insight that many don't, just because of what you do as the owner of the F1 Castle, and now having an affiliation with Topps and Fanatics.
Yep.
From the outside in, it looks like maybe beginning of the season, let's get that hype. Let's just get it out there. But as a collector, and we are all collectors here, it's hurting the wallet a little bit, just a wee bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. It's tough on everyone. Like, honestly, I mean, as a breaker, I can't, come up for air. It's been nonstop breaking, shipping, running a episode of the podcast, running a video of a new release. I didn't even really, the checklist hasn't even been fully published yet to go through. There's like a, bootleg version of it that's out there floating around, but it hasn't been posted on, Beckett or Cardboard Connection or any of those places that we generally see them come up. Hopefully it'll be up tomorrow. I'd love to get a YouTube video in. But at that point, by the time I load that up, then the product will be out. So yeah, I mean, this one especially came out really quickly, right? Like with Chrome, there was a big buildup, right? Like we knew, okay, it's coming out. And then it was like, okay, delayed, but we still know, it's coming out. We got the release date, weeks in advance. Sapphire, we kind of had that March 1st release date, and it was just like, well, do we think they'll stick to it? And they did. Mm-hmm. Dynasty, I mean, I don't know about you. I hadn't heard that it was going to be the 8th of March. And I didn't find out about it until, the 4th of March on a Monday when, I was asked if I wanted my allocation. And I was like, well, I haven't seen pictures. I haven't seen renders. I haven't seen checklists. How am I supposed to, make a informed business decision? So it's been tough from that side of things. I'm sure, card stores, LCS, other breakers, et cetera, are feeling that same pressure. And then as a collector and as someone, if you're buying into breaks and stuff, I mean, yeah, unless you've been, very pointed at picking your spots, or, kind of have a bit of money tucked away where it's not too much of an issue. I mean, it's tough, right? You go right from Chrome into Sapphire into Dynasty, and Dynasty's, one of the most expensive products there is. So, I mean, it's definitely taxing on everybody, I think. But I guess in looking at the silver lining, right, is that we'll have everything out, and then we're able to kind of, marinate on it throughout the rest of the year, and really, make informed, opinions and decisions on where we want to put our money after like everything gets put out there. And it's like, all right, now, do I like Chrome more? Do I like Sapphire? Do I like Dynasty? And then you kind of get to make those decisions instead of, if Dynasty didn't come out until May, which is what I anticipated, or maybe, mid or end of April, then maybe you've spent another bunch of money on Chrome or Sapphire or whatever, and you wouldn't have for Dynasty. So yeah, I mean, it's been frantic. And we're hurting over here for sleep and everything else. But yeah, we're gonna get through it, and then we'll be through all three of the main releases, and finally be able to breathe for a little bit, just in time for Australia.
So we'll talk what we can about Dynasty, but you mentioned Scott. So I feel like I've been on the sidelines. Feel like that SpongeBob meme where looking longingly out at everybody else enjoying Sapphire, because I was like, well, I'm gonna hold back for Dynasty, and like you said, I was thinking like early to mid April. I'm gonna have to just completely skip Sapphire for a little bit, because I was very interested in Dynasty this year, just because of it's the type of card that I really like. The relic, the autographs, like you said, the high end, the less is more approach. It's got Oscar Piastri in it this year. However, man, Sapphire, we talked about it last episode. Sapphire is killing it. I know we were going to talk about this, but man, Sapphire selections. Why is this like one of the best cards since 2020 IVs? Like, gosh.
Yeah, I mean, Sapphire selections, right? Like, if you're a fan of 2020 and you like, the cards that don't have the borders, Sapphire selections, there's no border on Sapphire selections. The cracked ice, it's almost like extra cracked ice, it seems like, compared to the regular Sapphire cards. And just the autographs look absolutely amazing. I mean, I've gone through, I don't know, I think like 25 cases, and I think I've pulled one so far. I think I've pulled one. I think I've got it right here, actually. Yep. So I've pulled one. It's George Russell. George Russell Sapphire. There it is. Try to give you a good view. Sapphire selections.
Beautiful.
George Russell out of 5. And again, those cards, they're out of 5 or they're out of 1. So I mean, there's not a lot to choose from. There's only 60 total in the product. And I mean, I know of at least 10 that have come out, right? I've seen one of one, and then I've seen, between me and other breakers, I've seen 10 reds or 9 reds. So that means that now there's only 50 left. Like, they're going fast. You're gonna have to get in there to try to get them, folks that are interested in it. But I think they're beautiful, right? And I think I have not talked to a single person who does not like the Sapphire selections autographs. I'd say 95% of people like Sapphire selections. There's a 5% who it's not for them, but then you put the auto on there and it changes the game. And I mean, I think these cards are the first in a long time to, rival 2020. Honestly, like I think it's a beautiful card. I think they've done a great job, especially the autograph cards. I mean, these 60 cards that they've produced this year, I think, are just going to be some of the all-time best F1 cards.
High praise. All right, let's talk Dynasty, and we will talk briefly about the race in Jeddha this weekend. Again, another Saturday race. We'll have an episode early next week, kind of recapping the results, and we'll get a little bit of a reprieve before, I believe, we head to Australia.
Oh yeah,
and actually, you will be heading to Australia.
That's right. Me and the Queen of the Castle, we're heading out. We're going to be taking a 6-hour flight over to California, and then another 16-hour flight or so to Australia. So yeah, it should be a wild ride. First time over there for both of us. We're going to be over there for like 10 days. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Awesome. All right, let's talk Dynasty. And what we do know, there's a lot of stuff we don't. So I did have an image of that bootleg thing. I'm not going to show it on screen here. I'll skip over that. But the checklist, rumored checklist, looks a little different. We'll maybe talk on a high level about maybe some of the things to be maybe on the lookout for if you're potentially looking at a break spot for some of these. I know you've got on your Fanatics Live store for Friday, which would be March 8th at 12 noon Eastern time will be the official release date. And I know you'll be live on that, and I'll be looking forward and tuning in on that. So Topps UK, the Instagram account, dropped a few of these images. We're going to show them on screen here. And we're not going to show one of them that may have potentially had a incorrect autograph rendered on
Took it
it.
down.
So
Yeah, at my behest.
awesome. All right. So on screen here, because if you're not on YouTube and if you're listening to the audio only version, welcome. So we got Fernando Alonso on screen here, Scott. So just talk to me first thing about what strikes you as being very different about this versus some of the prior, because now each of the 4 Dynasty products have been very unique. I don't think there have been any kind of crossover or stuff carried over.
Yep. No, it's true. I mean, if you go back to 2020 card, basically all white, all the images of the drivers, black and white, right? So very kind of classic look, which is nice for the first year. 2021, they changed to, still all white card, had kind of little like plus sign backgrounds all over the place, and a colored image of the driver. 2022, again, colored image of the driver and kind of like a two-tone, like half the card would be white, half it would be red, or half white, half black, half white and some other color. But a lot of the autographs in 2022 kind of ended up on like dark spots because there wasn't really a clear area for where the autograph was supposed to go. So you ended up seeing a lot of autographs like on a part where it wasn't really very readable. But the patches in 2022 are amazing. So now in 2023, what we've got is some beautiful color. Again, the driver is in color, but now the background is almost like this tie-dye type coloring. It seems to match kind of the team color a little bit. And again, we've only seen a few, but so far it does seem to match like the color of the overall team that the driver represents. And then there is like a specific white, clear, and like kind of highlighted ish area for the autograph. Now, on the renders, every autograph we've seen is like a facsimile autograph where it's just like computer generated. So we don't know what exactly they'll look like when, the drivers are signing them. But they look good. The patches look good. We've only seen a couple of them, but every patch on there is multicolor. And has, at least some writing or something like that, around the border of the patch is also like either a silver or blue or gold, type border around it with like a little bit of like edging. Like it's not a rectangle. It's more of like I don't know. It's not quite a rhombus here.
I failed geometry, Scott.
It's
So
got it's got multiple angles though. It's a lot of different viewpoints. But yeah, I mean the Logan Sargent, now we've switched over to the Logan Sargent card that's on the screen, is the jumbo patch, one of one flag patch, right? So every single
America.
driver except Pierre Gasly, pouring one out for Gasly, except Gasly, that's in the product has the jumbo flag patch. I think the jumbo flag patch is kind of becoming like the one of one logo man for like other sports and stuff. In past years, not every single driver has had a flag patch. Every driver had a jumbo, but not every driver had a flag patch. So I think they're really trying to like dive in, dig in on the flag patches being the most desirable. They've always been the most desirable, right? If you look at sales for Dynasty cards, the flag patch cards are always the most desirable, especially in jumbo form. So the Logan Sargent looks actually absolutely beautiful. First card ever that we're going to see here with an American flag. It actually looks like, it's weird to me because, growing up being a fan of Formula One, I was into the helmets as a kid. I was really into the flags as a kid. But to me, the flags, it was always new and unique flags from other countries that I wasn't familiar with. It was never like, or very rarely ever. I think when I was a kid, maybe Scott Speed was the first driver that came in that had an American flag, in like the late 90s, early 2000s or so. And I think it was early 2000s. But so this has been the first time I've seen one in what seems like forever. And it almost just looks, oddly to say, foreign, even though it's assuredly domestic for us here in the US. But yeah, it's an extremely desirable patch. I mean, everyone loves the Logan. Now we've got Oscar Piastri up on the screen, the dual patch. There's not as many dual patches this year, which for me, I'm a fan of because I like the single patches the most. But I think it looks nice. There's a big area to sign the card on a lot of these, so hopefully it'll be very clear where the drivers are to sign, and we don't see them, drawing on their picture or anything like that. But yeah, the cards do
Lando.
look beautiful. I know, right? Cards do
Lando
look
signed
nice.
on his face like all the time last year.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, cards look nice tie-dye, right? It's a little different. It's unique compared to every other year. Personally, I think, and again, it's really hard to say because haven't opened any cards. I've got my cases now, but I haven't opened anything yet. And once I actually have them in hand, I'll be able to really give my opinion. But just at first glance, I mean, I really like it. It's very unique from the other years, but I'd say I would put it above 22 and 21 just at a first glance. And it's got Oscar Piastri rookie cards in it, right? So I think it'll do really well in terms of sales, just because people will be chasing that Oscar Piastri 1 of 1 jumbo Australian flag patch. Man, that card is going to be it might be the biggest card of the year. Like that card may be the biggest card of the year.
Fingers crossed that you pull up, my friend. I have faith in the castle.
Yeah, Brian. I mean, you said you're going to be watching. You're going to be heavily vested here. You got a case coming. Your case might actually be what we kick it off with, Brian. So we'll
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. Just
it could go really well. It could go also really bad if it's all team principles.
That's the thing with Dynasty, right? Because if you're unfamiliar with Dynasty, folks, it's no F2. So it's all F1 drivers and then team principals. And I've seen cases. I opened tons of cases last year with no team principals. And then I've seen cases with 4 team principals. So it is very feast or famine when it comes to Dynasty for sure.
So before we talk Jeddha real quick to end the show, I swear this is going to be a shorter one. I was looking, Scott, at the timings of our first 3 episodes, and they kept increasing by like 10 minutes every time. So we're going to try to get back to a normal time here, but we've hinted about it. You said you and the Queen of the Castle will be on FanX Live this Friday, noon Eastern time. Dynasty, really, like you said, I'm excited. I also am kind of bummed that I've missed out on Sapphire, but I'm hoping that Dynasty will do well. And like you said, it's very expensive. It'll be around for a good chunk of the year. I mean, prior years of 2021, 2022, I mean, granted, they didn't have an Oscar Piastri level rookie in them, but you still can acquire sealed wax of that. It's not something that people go crazy for, just given the stature and the price.
Yeah, no, it's tough. And yeah, this will be nice to, open on Fanatics Live. Pretty much the majority of my Dynasty will be open on Fanatics Live. Probably do a little bit on Instagram, but most of it will be on Fanatics Live. The Queen of the Castle is going to be there with me. I asked her if she wanted to open some. She's like, oh God. Like, because the pressure, I mean, obviously if you're buying in, like, you're locked in and it is like high stakes, but when you're breaking that stuff, I mean, it is high stakes. Like I remember being in Vegas, right? We were in Vegas doing like the biggest break I ever did, 2020 Sapphire, Chrome, and Dynasty case. And we were doing Dynasty. The first 2 cards were principals. I was like, oh my God, this could just be an absolute catastrophe. And then the 3rd card was a Lewis Hamilton flag patch. So, I mean, it's something that can turn, right? I mean, you could be 4 principals in, and then the last card is Oscar Piastri jumbo 1 of 1 flag patch, and you're up insane amount. So
you don't even care at that point.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Looking forward to it. So, like you said, you've got, stay tuned to Scott's Instagram at the F1 Castle. Excuse, I always say that wrong in the podcast. It rolls off the tongue better to say
know,
the
right?
F1 Castle. It's at F1 Castle on
That's true.
Instagram. Also, I don't know if you'll have a chance to do anything on YouTube before then at all. Come on, Topps, hurry up, get us some more of this information. But all right, Scott, week 1 in the books, Formula One wise. We are up to round 2. We're in Jeddha, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. 4th year running this race, Scott.
Yeah, I believe so. I think 2021
So it's
was the first year.
Lewis, Hamilton, Max, and Sergio are the prior winners.
Correct.
Yes, look at that. You're supposed to be the one with all the F1 knowledge here.
You
Look
got
at
it,
me.
man. You got it.
So this is an interesting track, Scott, because the layout. Every time I see the track layouts, and they've got the overlay, and you got Crofty talking about it, or Alex Jakes, whoever it is talking about all like the DRS zones. Like, this is one of the most unique tracks because it's so long and narrow, but there's so many turns to this. Like,
So many.
I don't know. It's
turns.
something I look forward to. Yeah, turns, but they're more sweeping.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, very different track, right? To where we just were. We were just in Bahrain, which is, a lot of long straights and then heavy braking, slow corners. So, very rear limited. So a car like the Red Bull that's really easy on its tires, very aerodynamically sound, planted to the ground, is going to do really well there. So now we head to Jeddah, which I believe is the second fastest average speed during the lap. I think only Monza, right? The Temple of Speed.
Temple
Only
speed.
Monza is faster on an average lap. So extremely fast. A ton of high speed and medium speed corners. There's still a couple slow speed, hairpins, but really a lot of high and medium speed corners. So it's going to be not quite as rear limited. So, Bahrain definitely favored the Red Bull. I think we're going to see it bunch up a little bit more here. I think expect McLaren, Ferrari, and Mercedes all to be a bit better here compared to where they were last week. And last week, Ferrari, I mean, in qualifying was actually the fastest car. Leclerc set the fastest time in Q2. So I don't think we'll see Red Bull on pole here. And in the race, it's tough to go against them. But I think we'll definitely see it a lot closer. And I'd look for folks like Lando, Piastri, Hammy, Russell, Leclerc, and Sainz. I mean, I put all of them up there, and Alonso's been really good here in the past. I mean, hey, last year he was leading the race early on. So, I would expect to see it be a lot closer of a race than we saw. Max kind of waltzed away a little bit last week. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. And it's just a fast track. Lots of blind corners. I mean, red flags aplenty.
So for anybody not following you on Instagram, one of the things that you do every week is the castle predictions. So we get a sneak peek of anything you're thinking about. Usually you've got like a surprise pick, and then you pick your podium and winner and pole position and stuff. Given any thought to it already? You still calculating all the
No, so I've
fine...
actually got them all locked in. I've got them all locked in because especially, again, like you mentioned earlier, we're racing on Saturday, which means that, we've got practice tomorrow. Tomorrow, I believe, on Thursday, right? We have FP1, FP2. I like to try to make my predictions ahead of that because I think, if you watch FP1, FP2, it's kind of cheating because especially FP2 is very representative for qualifying. And then you can kind of dig through the data, look at the long run pace and get a better idea. So I try to get my, predictions out ahead of that just to really go in blind, makes it more fun. So, and I'll do them right now live.
Oh,
so
here we go, folks.
So for pole position, I actually have Lando Norris. I think Lando Norris, very good qualifier, as long as he doesn't make a mistake like he did in Sector 1 in Bahrain. Last week, I think he could have been, top 3. But I think here, the McLaren car will be a lot better in Jeddah. So I'm actually picking Lando for pole. And I think that he'll be able to hold on to a podium spot. Still am picking Max, where we're early in the year. I'm trying to, get some correct predictions in before I start going crazy. So I'm going Max in first. I think Perez is really good on the street circuits. He won here last year. I'm taking him for second, and I think
Mhm.
Lando will hold on for the last podium position. And then my castle call, which is actually what I call the kind of bold prediction, so to speak. Castle call is I think there's going to be a red flag in the first 10 laps. So that's
Ooh,
what I'm thinking.
someone's gonna bin it. It's a tight. It is tight in spots.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of the fencing that's right up against the the track wall, so there's not a lot of wiggle room. Was it 2021 when Max had that like near perfect lap and hit the wall like at the last corner there? Oh, we felt
Absolutely. I
for him.
think turn 14. Yeah, no, it was like a serene lap that just didn't, just a tiny bit wide, and that rear right tire smacked the wall and it was game over.
It's just like in Monaco with it's a game of centimeters with those
Hmm.
tires against some of those barriers there. But
Absolutely.
yeah, no, again, a little bit of a shorter episode here. Again, we don't have a lot to talk about Dynasty, but we did want to get something out ahead of time. We'll probably touch on it in coming episodes. You'll have some firsthand looks at them. Hopefully, everybody else will either have the opportunity to open some themselves, join some breaks, especially if it's in the F1 castle. And yeah, we're going to have all this product out here. Now we can just enjoy it. And man, hopefully you and the queen can get some sleep.
I know, yeah. It's well, I mean, listen, I mean, we're doing Dynasty this next week. And then like that following week it'll probably be a little more Dynasty, a little other stuff mixed in, and then we go to Australia. So then we're gone for basically 2 weeks. So, we're not really going to be ripping much over those 2 weeks. We'll probably bring some product with us, maybe do some rips with the Australian folks out there, but yeah, you won't see us on Fanatics Live at all, and we'll probably be on Instagram a little bit while we're out there. But yeah, I mean, primarily we're gonna be out there for a little bit of vacation at the beginning, going to Cairns, Great Barrier Reef, and then we're gonna be going to the race. So we'll keep everyone up to date on everything that's going on trackside on Instagram. But outside of that, it's to be few and far between. But Brian, I mean, I can guarantee you then on our next episode, we're going to go through card by card what was in your dynasty case. So hopefully it's happy times and happy days, but
Or
we're definitely going to show.
as our friend Chris Letty likes to say, the boulevard of broken dreams.
Yeah, jeez. Hopefully we don't go anywhere near there.
For sure. So, all right, let's end this before we ramble even more, because both you and I like to talk quite a bit and very passionate about Formula One and the Formula One card hobby. So, as we get ready to do our outro, we're getting better at this. It went off pretty well last time, so let's give it another shot here, Scott.
Alrighty, guys. Well, until next time, collect your cardboard, keep it carbon.